Hi, Craig. We missed you.
Hi, Craig.
Hey, yo, folks. I'm your host, Conesy with the Most, and I'm joined today by...
Hey, everybody. It's Justin here, the Meeples champion.
Hey, and this is episode 149 of the Wisco Dice Tabletop Gaming Podcast. Today is February 25th, 2026, and on today's episode, we're going to cover our 5 top favoritist, greatest of all times titles from Thunderworks Games, local Madison publisher. But first, why don't we roll into the games we have been playing? And you know what? That first game we've been playing is going to be a game that Justin and I both played together fairly recently. It's been like a month or so, but finally got this thing to the table. It is Nemesis Retaliation from Awakened Realms, the third in the Nemesis trilogy. Finally, we're not going to be taken advantage by the aliens. We're fighting back. Humanity strikes back. We are exceptional Marines. We have all of the gear, plenty of bullets. We don't have to worry about running out of ammo, or do we? Well, let's just say Nemesis Retaliation, when played correctly, is pretty brutal. And we figured out, I think, a couple of mistakes we made about halfway through the game. But yeah, you're assaulting a base that, well, while we are special forces, we're not really provided a whole lot of information about the facility we are about to infiltrate, but we know what we're fighting at least, which is a good thing. So we're able to gear up with clips of ammo and oxygen. And boy, that not having oxygen thing really is a problem because life support doesn't work anywhere in this whole facility, and each section has its own life support you have to go turn on.
Yeah, that was a
and
challenge.
Then somebody might just come along and turn it off on you.
No, I can't.
Or a
Can't
number of
imagine
other
that would
things
happen.
might happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, just survive, complete your objective, and that's it. That's the miracle. Maybe you win. So, Justin, what do you think of this version of Nemesis? You played the other original Nemesis before, so you've got some perspective.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yes. So I think it is correct to compare this version of Nemesis to the second Aliens movie with the Marines storming the facility as compared to the first Aliens movie, which is, you're very vulnerable and stuck on the ship with the alien or aliens. You have firepower in this one, and that feels really good right out of the gate. One of the first choices that you make when you start the game is to pick, basically choose what kind of loot you start with, from ammo, clips, grenades, oxygen, and maybe there's one other thing, like a med kit or something like that.
Yeah, medkit.
So you could just right out of the gate start with a whole pile of ammo and plan to go in guns blazing and kind of choose that style of gameplay. So I thought that was a really cool choice right at the beginning. When you shoot at aliens in this version, can you kind of have two options. You can shoot at aliens in the room that are in there with you, or you can shoot into corridors, which lets you do this burst fire thing, which you can take out like a bunch of aliens all at once, which is really kind of a feel good mechanic from my perspective because aliens can get overwhelming, but sometimes you have that chance to just mow down a bunch of them in a corridor with a shotgun or like a minigun type thing or something like that. So that's really
Or
fun.
chuck a grenade.
Chuck a grenade in there, exactly. There are a lot of options for dealing with the aliens, and they're I would say they feel about as deadly when you're in the room with them as in the first game. I mean, it's not they're still a threat to you for sure. You just have more
Yeah.
tools for dealing with them.
I was gonna say this game is absolutely horrific though at 2 players. Holy cow!
Oh,
I've seen a lot of complaining online about how it's almost unplayable at 2 players. Suzanne and I gave it a try after we played it, and oh my goodness, it's just overwhelming. If you played the noise rules correctly, like we didn't do,
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
you move, unlike the original Nemesis, when you move to a room that contains basically another figure, like it's another player or an alien, you don't have to roll a noise roll. But in this one, if it doesn't matter, you move from room to room, you have to make a noise roll, and that could spawn intruders. And that, when you're playing 2-player, is just brutal. But I think the thing is that regardless of how many players you play, there is a concept of securing corridors where you flip the corridor over from the numbered side that matches one of the numbers on the dice to a 0, which doesn't match any numbers on a dice. And I think that action is way, way undervalued during your first play. Like you should be taking your time, securing corridors behind you and in front of you as you move through the complex to slow down the alien spawn.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think we got a little bit lucky in that our mission objective involved securing corridors to some unknown location somewhere in the map. So we were spending that time to secure corridors along the way. So we at least had a path to get to, whatever section in the farthest away part of the ship we needed to get to. But as just a mechanic on its own, yeah, like it makes a ton of sense because you are going to get rid of those noise rolls and make things a lot safer. It's maybe a slower way to play instead of just rushing in. But like you mentioned before, if you rush into the ship, all the oxygen is shut down, and every turn you're in a space where oxygen is not in there, your oxygen meter starts dropping, and that can kill you pretty quickly if you're not careful and not able to get back into a section of the ship that has oxygen. So rushing out there is a risky tactic.
I mean, if there's a way for your
So
character to die in this game, I think suffocation is way better than being torn to shreds by aliens or having a chest burster explode out of you. But hey, what do I know?
yeah, sure.
That is Nemesis Retaliation from Awaken Realms. What's next? What else have we been playing?
Recently, I got the chance to play the game Trajan, which is a Stefan Feld game from originally released in 2011. This is a game set in ancient Rome where you are using a Mancala-like system to control what actions you take, and you're doing things like shipping valuable goods across the seas. You're sending workers to build constructions in ancient Rome. You're sending out your legionnaires to control areas on the map and trying to earn votes in the Senate forum to earn points and kind of take over like as lead player in some cases how the kind of the first player of the round gets determined. I think the standout thing for this game is the Mancala mechanism where you have this series of colored kind of hex tokens that you pick up and drop into bowls in a circle on your player board, and the space that you land on is the act that you get. And it's just a completely unique mechanism for determining actions in this type of game. It takes some real thought and planning to do it well. So there's always a puzzle on your turn of like, okay, how can I prepare for my next action based on how I move my Mancala pieces this action, or thinking even further ahead is even harder. But I think this is a solid Euro game that really holds up over the years that it's since it's been released. We were playing your copy of this game actually, Ben. So I know you played fairly recently too. Is that right?
Yeah. No, this game's seen a bit of a resurgence due to the fact that we have got out, and I really love the Mancala mechanism in this game, and I really wanted to get it back to the table, and I have for a couple of years, and especially since Suzanne had never played it. So we finally got it out, and I taught her how to play it, and she loved it. And so then we took it to a couple of board game days, and since we introduced it to people that we play with at places like Wilden Distilling and Misty Mountain Games on our regular board game events, now like other people are in that group that attends those events have also went out and got copies of it. So it's seen the table quite a bit near the tail end of second half of 2025, and now here just past week. And so yeah, it's gotten to be a bit of a popular game within the group, and that's pretty awesome for a game that's in the realm of board games. It feels a bit like that old breed of ancient board game now.
Yes, yes. It does have some old school feel to it, especially in terms of things like the rule book and some of the iconography and things like that. It feels like an old school Euro, which I like because that's just nostalgia for me. Uh, but it's definitely one of those got that old school feel. I 100% agree.
Our copy is I think one of the older print copies. It's not the newest copy that got reprinted, which isn't a whole other thing. Like I'm not really clear who's got the rights to it right now as far as a publisher is concerned. But I don't think anybody has it currently in print. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I think the most recent printing distribution might have been under Renegade, but the copy I own is older than that. So if you want to look out for this one, if you're trying to get a copy of this, go find those used board game dealers or used sales. Dig around, like say on Noble Knight Games, and see if they've got a copy. Because I mean, that's where I got my copy used.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I can't find any info. Just searching real quick here to see if it's still in print or if there's a reprint coming. So your only choice probably is used games at this point. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth checking it out. If you like Stefan Feld, check it out. I think it's a solid game.
Oh yeah, it still holds up. It's still really good.
Yep. But that was Trajan, Stefan Feld Euro game. And we'd like you to please check out wiscodice.com for links to all the games we've discussed. And while you're at it, please leave a review of this podcast wherever you download podcasts. It really helps us out.
Yeah, do it. We appreciate it. Now, on to Thunderworks Games. Little publisher, right? They're just tiny. Nobody's heard of them, right? They're from this little town called Madison, Wisconsin. We love. No, we both have gotten an opportunity to actually step foot in the official Thunderworks warehouse and facility that Keith and team work out of. We're fortunate to be here in Madison, Wisconsin, and while this show, we're not affiliated with them directly, and we don't get paid any cash from them or anything like that. We thought it'd be really nice to give a big shout out to one of our favorite publishers, and one that I'm not sure about you, Justin, but I remember in the early days when we were playing Role Player a lot. It's like that game, once we got our hands on it, it hit the table quite a bit. Again, like everybody's house, huge. We were playing it, and I remember after I got, so then I had to go Ben. I have to go get a copy of it, and then every Kickstarter that pretty much came out afterwards from Thor had like a promo card or something else promo that came with Role Player, or that was for Role Player in whatever the game was that was coming out. So I had to back all of the future Kickstarters just so I could get those promo cards. Nowhere in this did I have any idea that this company was from Madison, Wisconsin, and that the designer was right, for quite a while, like the designer in the studio was right down the street. I could have walked to it from where I was living on the west
Yeah.
side of Madison.
Yeah.
So when I realized that and actually started really talking to him and and said, "Hey, well, I have a podcast here in Madison," and he's like, "Well, you should just go over to the offices and we can record." And I got that first interview with Keith, and yeah, it was something. So after that, now it seems like, oh, duh, I should have just known that they were in Madison, but I don't know what point you figured out that they were. I'm sure this was far sooner in this process than I did.
I don't remember. I think it is really cool to have a fairly big publisher like right in our backyard, and to see them continue to make good games. All the way from, I mean, like you said, Role Player, I think, was the first game I played of theirs, and it's been a series of great releases from them since then. I think. I mean, there's ups and downs, and there's not everything. I don't like everything they've made 100%, but that's why we wanted to talk about them today, is because they are one of our favorite publishers, and they really do make some great games.
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with a Thunderworks title. They're definitely all good games.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
there are a few that are stellar, that are really good. The whole like library of games that they've done, I think there's not on the whole list. Um, Particularly when you consider, like, I think there is definitely some design engineering when that goes in some of their titles as to what level of board gamer that they're trying to go after with a particular title.
hmm
So why don't we're going to go ahead though, and we're going to cover our top five, and Justin and I have both compiled our own lists. So when we come up with something that is, if it's ranked higher on the other person's list, we'll just go ahead and mention the game and wait to talk about it until it shows up on the other person's list. But let's go ahead and kick it off. We're going to count this down, starting with game number 5. And for me, game number 5, out of my top 5, it's going to be Cartographers. Now, I will point out, I know I'm not going to talk about it a ton, but I do want to mention that when I first met Keith and started talking to him about like games that are kind of his like evergreen game or evergreen title that helps pay bills, I thought Role Player was definitely that game. Turns out Cartographers is what pays the bills at Thunderworks Games. This is like his number one top selling title. That's pretty much, if he prints it, they will buy it. So we'll talk more about Cartographers and what the game is in a little bit.
Yep. It's on there, my list too, but a little further down. Uh, my number 5 though is a newer one from Thunderworks. It's Emerald Skulls. Emerald Skulls is a dice rolling, gambling, I would even call it almost a party game, where you are trying to roll the right combination of dice to place on this big emerald colored skull mat, and to try to roll the right sequence to go out in a variety of number of ways. So you might be trying to roll like all skulls, and that is going to pay out with a big payout for whoever makes bids on that particular method of you going out. It allows people to take turns being the dice roller, and also bidding on the results of the dice rolls, and then you get paid out in cash based on your bets and what happens when the player rolls the dice. It's kind of, I think it's really meant to have this kind of casino feel to it, where you got someone rolling the dice and everybody's making bets around all at the same time, slapping down their bet markers on different outcomes. And I just like that feel. I like that casino feel. I like the kind of the party feel to it. It's a unique game collection. I don't have a lot of games that play that way. I think with the expansion, you can get going with up to like 8 players at once, which I think is the best way to do it with a bunch of people. Yeah, so that Emerald Skulls is my number 5. It's a fun one. I would recommend it if you want kind of a gambling, fast-playing rolling game. How do you
Yeah,
play
this one.
a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're all in the collection. I think there's only like one or two. I think there's only one title, like Keith's, or the very, very first Thunderworks game, Bullfrogs, I think is what it's called.
Oh yeah,
That
that
I
Bullfrogs
don't
game.
have.
Yeah.
Which is, I think you can print it now, like it's only available on print on demand, and I don't know that it'll ever see a reprint. But Emerald Skulls, yeah, this game it didn't do well. I was really excited for it when I first got my hands on it, and I've enjoyed it personally, but it didn't do real well when I brought it out and played it with kind of the regular people that I play with on a regular basis, both at like the meetups and at the house. So it's kind of fallen off a little for me in wanting to play it. And it's kind of sad because I got all the metal cogs and the
The cool metal coins. Yeah.
and the but I do want to run this at a convention at some point and dress up, like run this and then run Goblin Vaults and dress up as a goblin, like, but in a like a dealer's out, like in a tux, and then with like goblin ears and a big hooked goblin nose, and maybe some spectacles kind of hanging on the goblin nose. So I look like I'm a respectable dealer goblin. Either that or dress up, because this game and Goblin Vaults is actually Goblin Vaults is based on art that was done of these goblins playing a card game in prison. And the cogs that are the coins, the money, the currency in both games are the like metal gears and sprockets that guards in this prison, the metal construct guards. So maybe instead of being like a tux, it would be like a prison outfit. Like I get like an orange jumpsuit, like that looks like a prison, and then put the name of the prison like on a tag in the back. Whatnot might be the right thing, but anyways,
I think you still got to go both
ahead of
there.
like some of these games that might show up on the list. Like, I think that would be really fun to do, anyways, and right in the spirit of what Emerald Skulls is.
Yeah, play up the theme, and yeah, you may just need the right group of people to get in the right to play this, to get into the theme of it, and sounds like you got a good plan for doing that. Sounds really fun.
I hope so. Either that, or at least somebody will get a really, really good picture of me dressed up, anyways.
Yeah,
it'd be like my version of the penguin goblin, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go on to game number 4, because I think we're both locked in an agreement on this one.
We are locked in on Stone Spine Architects for our number 4 pick for our favorite Thunderworks games.
Yeah,
this one is pretty new too from Thunderworks. A couple years at this point, I think, right? 2024, maybe it came out.
Yeah, I remember. Oh God! So I got to playtest this when it was still in prototype. So
okay, cool.
So yeah, probably. Yeah, I think I got to play it maybe in 23.
Yeah, it came out in 24. So,
but it's also the same designer as Cartographers, which is kind of interesting. So,
so Stone Spine Architects is a tile-laying dungeon building game where you are trying to build the highest scoring dungeon by laying out different types of dungeon rooms with paths in them to try to connect the entrance of your dungeon to the exit of your dungeon, and including different monsters and traps in your dungeon to score based on scoring cards that are out there, and other things like earning gold to earn points as you build out this grid of 16 dungeon tiles, which actually are cards that overlap each other, which is a really clever way of handling and a kind of a tile laying mechanism, I think. But you're building a grid 16 square grid dungeon, which has like kobolds and goblins and gnolls and slimes and oozes and stuff like that in it, and traps, and trying to connect the rooms together to make a path from the entrance to the exit, because that's worth a bunch of points. You might get cards that score for like whoever has the most gnolls in their dungeon to get a good pot of points. You're going to draft cards that have gnolls on them, things like that. I enjoy the theme of this game a lot. I like the idea of building a dungeon, and it plays pretty smoothly. It's quick play. It's pretty easy to teach. Artwork is cool, and it has of your familiar. We'll get to talking about role player a little bit more still, but it's got some familiar iconography and feel, and it's set in the same universe as like a role player or a lot of the other Thunderworks games. So it brings that whole theme together with this unique sort of dungeon building system.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it is such a good game. It takes that drafting mechanism that made Seven Wonders so popular.
Yep.
Turns it into like a dungeon creation thing with, you got two different types of dungeon tiles, the caverns and the stone tile or cards. And then you have an economy of, okay, if you're drafting, that you can go to the market and buy the monsters or the traps or the stars or the whatever it is that you're missing to map the pattern, like to match your blueprints, or
Right.
to make sure that you get that extra knoll more than your opponents or whatever.
Yep.
And then I don't know if you got it when you bought your copy, but the plushie Minotaur plushie that you could get when this came out, we've got sitting on like over by our TV in our main game area here at the Cone home, and it is such a cool little thing. And I loved watching when they went to, I think it was the year this came out, and this like the Kickstarter got pushed all the backers. A couple of the Thunderworks staff went to the UK, and including the owner's wife, Keith's wife Claire, and they took Hort Gully and they took pictures of this stuffed Minotaur and put it up on their social media, and like all these famous locations in the UK where he traveled that year.
Oh, that's
so cool. At this point, Hort Gully is probably more well traveled than I am.
That's funny.
So yeah, game number 3.
Number 3.
Here we have some differences in opinion.
Yep.
And this game is the only time it actually shows up on this list, but that is Lock Up, a player tale. Talk about a game that I backed because of a promo card for Role Player was included. I backed the Kickstarter to get this game. And this is the only worker placement game in the Thunderworks library right now. And what you're doing in the game is you have workers that have various strengths of, I think it's like 0 to 5 or something. And then you have one worker that can get a variable strength. And they're prisoners in the prison. What you're doing is you have little goblins or insectoids or whatever they are from the role player universe, been locked up in prison, and you're going to try to break out, right? That's the whole theme of the game. And you need to get the right parts and pieces and the right amount of goo and metal and whatever to put together and purchase weapons and things like that you can use to escape the jail. And so you're placing your workers with their numbers, and you have 2 of the workers that can be placed face up to maybe use to bluff your opponents on locations. Like, ooh, I'm gonna place my 5 worker here face up, and I'm gonna bluff that I really want that, and see if, well, are you willing to try to go over that? Fine, okay. I've got you to commit a lot of work, help my workers more. Or I can, maybe I bluff and put put a 1 on that spot, and a worker face up that's got a 1 on that spot. I can only put 2 of my workers face up. The rest of them are face, or no, it's all my workers are face up, I think, and then 2 of them are face down. So I can put 2 workers face down where nobody knows the strength. And so it could be a really kind of clever mix and match of like where you put workers, what information you reveal. You're taking turns going around the table, placing your workers on all the workers placement spaces, and then you reveal one space at a location time as you go around the board during the reveal phase, and whoever's got the most strength at a location gets the good award, or gets the like, hey, maybe you get instead of getting 3 goop here green cubes, you get 1 green cube or something like that. Or there's a couple of spots where you either have to be the person who had the most or the least, otherwise you just go to the library, which is where you get your like consolidation prize if you didn't get anything. So I really think it's a really cool game. I really like the expansion too, because it adds an extra element of the actual escape process as you're going through some tunnels below the prison. And of course, the prison that's in this game and is part of the role player universe, as like I think all of the games we've talked about so far, shows up in other role player games like Emerald Skulls we talked about earlier.
Yep. Yeah, Callback Prison makes a number of appearances in these role player games. I will say I feel a little bad not including this one on my list because it's a role player themed worker placement, like a perfect match for me, really. But I've only ever played this game one time. So like I just don't feel like I have enough to say it goes on my top 5. So I would like to try and get this game played another time,
Yeah, you don't see this
in
one
the future. It doesn't pop up, Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to pop up nearly as much as the other titles that are on this list.
Yeah, but it has some cool mechanisms like the different worker strengths is a really neat system. It's a unique worker placement kind of
A real popular
mechanic.
big heavy Euro game right now called Luthier is
Yeah,
using
that's
the
exactly.
exact mechanism
Yep.
as its core mechanism.
Yep. So I just need to get this one played again before I can have a real strong opinion about it. So yeah, I'll have to keep my eye on.
Speaking of strong opinions, this one's a pretty strong opinion for you that you got coming up next.
Yeah, my number 3 is Cartographers, the flip and write map making game set again in the role player universe. In Cartographers, you have a piece of paper with a grid of map squares on it, and every turn you're going to have 2 choices of terrain with different tetramino or Tetris shapes that you need to draw onto your map somewhere. So basically, you're drawing something like a forest or fields, like wheat fields, or houses for like a town in the shape of a Tetris shape somewhere on your map, and your goal is to try to make your map meet the conditions of what they queeks, which are basically objective point scoring cards that are going to get scored at multiple points throughout the 4 rounds of the game. It's a flip and write because each turn you flip 2 cards to determine what your choices are for drawing onto your map, and then you draw those little terrain features on your map. I'm a big fan of like roll and write, flip and write games, and I think this is a really solid one. It has a neat little player interaction mechanic with it too that I think is really cool, where if you flip one of the monster cards that is in the deck of terrain cards that can come up that you draw on your map, what you do is instead of drawing the monsters on your own map, you hand your map to the player on your right or left, and they actually draw monsters on your map in whatever the least help position is on your map, usually to make you score the least points or score fewer points or lose some points. So that's a cool thing I have not seen in other roll and write games before, is to actually hand off your precious map off to another player to mess up by putting monsters on. I think that's a really cool aspect of this.
Yeah, no, this is probably the only roll and write / flip and write game that I think really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I really, really want to replace the right component of this with a physical version of the like little tiles that you instead of having to draw them out. And there are a number of 3D printable projects, I think, out on like Thingiverse that are basically full on like, hey, you can print your like, and then just put little squares in now of printed plastic for that look like forests or rivers or whatever, and now you have a 3D map that you can build. And I think I would enjoy this so much more, because another game that's very similar, that's like in that roll and write kind of genre, is like Era Medieval Age.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking of when you said that.
It's a different game, but it's a roll and write. Except instead of writing, everything is like big 3D walls and structures that look like that are all the polyominoes, but they're the right structures. And it's kind of like you're putting polyominoes on a map. It's very similar in that regard. It does, how you're doing it's a little different, but the fact that you have those tangible polyominoes, every time I play that game, I'm just like, look at what I just built. I don't care if I did well. This thing looks cool.
Yeah.
Or I got raided so many times, and I had the plague, and look at how destitute my mighty kingdom was wrought low because of all of these bad things that happened to me. Either way, you can kind of see on the map. And I think that for me, if I could do that with cartographers, that would make this game so much better. It was very well be like near the top. Not to mention, I think like one of the drawbacks is like a lot of times I've played this game and like there's that like person or a couple people that are like, I just didn't want to draw. But we did get to play it recently with a 10-player game, which was really cool at one of our board game meetups. That was really cool, getting to play it with that many. And we've run this as like a big 8 or 10 person game at conventions before, and that's a lot of fun too. So, except that the one thing I think I do, when you get to those bigger games, and I really wish that Thunderworks made like, I need the XL size cards.
The draw on, or the cards so people can see. Are you saying?
So people can see it. Like people can see, this is the river, and you can choose either this little 2-piece river with a coin that you get a marker coin, or you get this like weird L river. That those cards that you're flipping up, and then the scoring cards, like everything, just make all the cards XL versions.
Yeah. We'll have to bug Keith for a reprint on get some XL cards going.
I like if Codenames XL could sell like crazy, so can that.
Yep.
Just saying. All right, now we're gonna move on to game number 2, and we're gonna go back to prison. We're going to huddle around our table. We've got our cards. We've got our deck of cards. We've got our cogs, hoarded them away. And we're going to play Goblin Vaults. So this is the first game. And this actual, like, people were asking Keith when they saw the art in Lockup and in Role Player Adventures of, like, these goblins with a deck of cards playing a card game. They ask Keith, you need to make that game. What does they want to play that game? And it's amazing how like people like see stuff like that in the art and they want to experience that. And so thus was made Goblin Vaults, which is a real interesting and really clever game. It's not you're playing like so there's like a grid of like 3 cards you're trying to win, and you're going to play, or you're going to try to win one of them. You're playing a card from your hand that's your bid when it's your turn, and that card could be numbered 1 to 10. And doesn't matter what the suit is, just the number value on the card. If you play a 10, nobody can beat your 10, basically. But if you play a 5, they can beat your 5. And so suits on the cards do come into play a little bit, like for which scoring cards are used, as well as how many cards go in the deck. You'll have that many suits of cards plus 1 or something like that. And then there's one other thing that suits do. But ultimately, like the interesting play is like, you have your hand of cards, and you're going to play 1 card each round for a total of 10 rounds. And you're playing, when you're playing, you're like, oh, I really don't want that card that's up for bid. Or, oh, I really want that card. Well, the clever thing is if you play a card that is, and you don't win the bid of the card that you're bidding on, you get that card that you bid to put in your vault. And ultimately, you're taking either the card you won or the card, no matter who's going to win a card, whether it's a card that you bid or the card that you're bidding for, and you're going to put them in your vault. And you want cards to go in your vault to match certain patterns and certain criteria. And so there's a whole like, do I want to bid to win this card? Do I not want this card? Where is this card going to go in my vault? Does it match the scoring conditions? Or, ooh, hey, I can really tell it really needs that card, so maybe I'll bid something there, but I don't really want that card, so maybe I'll just play a 5 there to force Justin to play a little bit higher card and get it out of his hand because I know he really wants that. It's just this really kind of like the amount of mental processing I have used trying to like figure out what other people are trying to do while at the same time trying to figure out what I'm doing in a little $25 box or whatever, like really small box. Like this is the same size box as Cartographers is. It's probably more than $25 now. But yeah, let's just say I really, really, really like this game. And it's been a little while since I've played it. I almost grabbed it this weekend to play, but chose to play something else instead. But yeah, I do really, really like this one. It's one of my top games, and it's just good.
Yeah, as you're describing it too, I'm going like I like this game too. Why haven't I played this one recently? Like, it's not in my top 5, but it's really probably just because I haven't played it a ton. Except for the one time that we played with Keith and he absolutely destroyed me and I did really, really bad. I mostly had a good time playing this game. We need to get this one out again. Just make
Yeah. This was really good. And the best part is like you can get the big box for Emerald Skulls, and you can put your Goblin Vaults right in the same box.
Yep.
With all the roll-up mats and all the neoprene mats and everything.
Yep.
So, what do you got for your number 2? I think the dimension of the box is much larger here.
Yep, big, much bigger box. This is the biggest box game that Thunderworks makes. Role Player Adventures. Role Player Adventure is a fantasy-themed role-player universe campaign. Choose your own adventure. Dice rolling, kind of puzzle combat storytelling game. It does a lot of stuff, and there is a ton of content in the game. But it is basically set up as a campaign, and each section of the campaign is run in a booklet that operates more or less like a choose your own adventure in terms of presents you a scenario and provides you opportunities to respond to the scenario in different ways. So you might encounter an ogre and you get the option to try to sneak away from the ogre, and then you're going to be doing a skill test to sneak away, or you decide to fight the ogre and you're going to do a combat with an ogre. But both of those scenarios are resolved in a mechanism similar to the role player game, which we have yet to talk about in great detail. But you roll a series of different colored dice, and you need to align those dice and manipulate them such that you meet the conditions to defeat the monster or to meet the skill challenge. So the monster might require you to play like a red 6 and a red 2, and then like you have to play a black 4. And if you play all those dice, you'll do all the damage you need to do to defeat the monster. And so you have lots of tools at your disposal in the form of a hand of cards to manipulate dice by changing their color or flipping them to different numbers or increasing their value, decreasing their value. And those cards basically represent characters' skills, abilities, equipment, weapons, and stuff like that. So you build out a character, and they get a set of cards you start with, and as you adventure, you collect more equipment, you collect more abilities, and all of those you're using to solve these kind of dice manipulation puzzles to defeat combats or to do these skill challenges, all while going through this big multi-stage, I think it's 11 chapters in total, campaign game. Again, set in the role player universe and all the things that entails. I've just been having a blast playing this with a couple of buddies of mine. I think we probably started the campaign maybe like 6 months ago. We were playing a little bit slowly, and we have yet to finish actually. But it's been a lot of fun, and I don't often get like big campaign games outplayed. So I haven't say run through a Gloomhaven campaign or anything like that. So it was cool for me to be able to like get an actual campaign game out, get it played, and pretty soon we'll be able to finish it. Yeah, what else is there to say about Role Player Adventures? It's such a huge game. There's so much to talk about with it. Like mechanically, it's not complicated, but it's the storytelling aspect that really like kind of sells it for me. All the choices that you can make and all the paths you can follow, in terms of the story of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it starts out. I think the campaign that comes in the box starts out, and it feels a little campy but classic fantasy, which I think fits the role
Yeah,
player universe. Obviously, we should say I think it's. Who am I to say? Like, I'm not the designer,
it is the Role Player
but
universe.
it, but then it, but then it, and then you keep going. You're like, okay, we're kind of on this like fantasy game, and it's pretty standard. And then all of a sudden, there's like a couple of spots, like a couple of scenarios that you're like, whoa, that was out of left park. I didn't see that coming, and that was really cool. And I don't want to give away spoilers. We did review this game up on our YouTube channel when Suzanne and I and another friend of ours, Brian, went through the base game and we also included the expansion Nephra's Judgment, which I think if you're playing the base role player adventures, that is a must have to include.
100%.
I think
Yes.
it you could play role player adventures the base box by itself. That's fine. But I think it's a must have. Like just combine the two, smush them together, play both at the same time.
Yep.
It is, you mentioned like having a campaign game, a big box campaign game that you can actually finish.
Yeah. Yeah.
In this day and age of like Gloomhaven and Frosthaven and Descent and all these big, long, extended, like fantasy explorer, dungeon crawl explorer campaign games, who's got time to get a group of 3 to 4 friends together for 50, 100, 150, 120 sessions to complete
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
board game campaign? Like, there are not a lot of us that have that kind of luxury and budget in our board game spending budget that can go buy one of these big box games and be able to play it that many times. Where role player adventures, the beauty of this is that you bought the game and poof, you're able to play it through in 11 sessions, 12 if you play the bonus scenario,
Yep.
and you're done. And you've completed it. And the plus side is they just released an expansion that lets you reuse all the maps and content you got in the base game with new scenario books that you can get digitally, or if you want physical copies of, you can buy the physical copies of. I just got my Kickstarter backer copy of that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you wanted another story, there's the expansion that's just more scenario books and maps for the expansion, which is kind of the prequel story to this. So there's plenty of reuse in your box that, like, now I'm talking 30 some plays. And of course, the base campaign has 3 different endings, so you could play it 3 different times to try to play out and get all 3 of those different endings.
Yep, true.
So it's a very nice campaign game. It's very achievable as a family too. I think too, if you wanted to play this with, like, hey, you had a couple of fantasy, kid or two that wanted to play more of a fantasy game, I think you could play this, with your 10 or your 8 to 10, 8
Oh,
to 12-year-old,
yeah,
and be able to play this.
for
The
sure.
rules aren't so it's like, oh, I need a
No.
science degree to figure out if and my doctorate to figure out how this rules interaction works, because I got to dig in like an FAQ to figure it out or whatever. No, it's not this game. It's definitely much more about the story and the tale. And
Yep.
don't expect to pass any of those skill challenges early, as we found out.
No, that the early game feels very hard. I can tell you it gets easier.
Yeah, by
Uh,
mid to late game, you figured out how to manipulate those cards, and you have a lot of cards at your disposal potential. So
yes.
that is game number 2, Role Player Adventures. But we've hinted at it. We've talked about it. Game number 1. What is it?
Well, it's role player, of course. It's the classic character building, dice rolling, dice drafting classic from Thunderworks role player.
This game breaks my head in math so much.
I love this game. I love the puzzle of it.
But Justin, I need that purple dice right here, and I need it. I
Yeah.
need the value. I need the value to add up to 15. And if you take it, I don't know if I'm going to get another one.
Yep. So, for those of you who don't know, role player is a game where you essentially are building a D&D character by drafting dice. You have a character sheet, which is basically made up of a grid of 3 by 6 grid of slots for dice to get slotted into. And you draft dice from a market, and you're attempting to create character ability scores for your fantasy role playing character. You're rolling your player, so you'll have a strength score, a dexterity score, wisdom score, all the classic Dungeons and Dragons ability scores, and you build up your scores by drafting dice and putting the dice into the slots for that score. So depending on the class you're trying to build, if I am trying to build, say, a fighter, I might want to have high strength score. And so my recipe or my template that I'm trying to follow, my blueprint to build my character, is that I need to have at least 16. And so the dice that I draft into that strength slots need to add up to at least 16 at the end of the game for me to get most points. But of course, you're drafting dice with other people, and so you're not always going to get the dice you want. But you also have the, if you're about an intelligence score, it may just be like, hey, intelligence needs to be an 8 or less or something like that, or it may not matter at all what your intelligence score is. But a wizard class really cares about the intelligence score, that kind of thing. And then as you're placing these dice to fill out your ability scores, you're also able to use these dice manipulation mechanics and trigger certain special abilities, like flipping a dice from one side to its opposite side, or re-rolling a dice, or increasing or decreasing after you draft it. So you have these abilities and traits that you can trigger to manipulate the dice and get the scores that you're trying to build out for your perfect character, and also try to match a blueprint for having the right colors of dice and the right place on your character sheet. So there is this big puzzle aspect to it as you're building your character out, as Ben was alluding to there. There's a whole slew of different characters. I mean, yeah, like there's the alignment thing that you're trying to do too,
Yeah,
right?
you have the alignment
I forget
track.
how the alignment works, but
Yeah, you have the alignment. You have the alignment. You have to
there's
match
your
the
background.
color dice. You have your background card. So you have all
Yeah.
these different things you're matching, right? You're trying to match like these patterns, and you're trying to get dice of the character class. So you're also trying to match, like each row has to match a certain number or a certain range of numbers or be over a number. So you're like trying to mental math and balance, like, okay, which dice do I need the next time to draft that's going to fit the requirements of what just came out. And the whole time you're like breaking your head, and then as you like complete rows, you're able to modify your dice, and then like you get done with the whole blasted game. You built this character, and he's really cool. He's got an awesome sword, and he can throw a lot of spells, and he's got all these skills, and you're done. And you're like, oh, now I want to go adventuring with this guy. So they did answer that like issue in the expansions, but I feel like some of the expansions took away a little bit from getting all the cool gear and skills, because now I might want to just go fight the minions, because it's better than buying a cool sword or getting the set of armor to go with the character. But like it's such a good game. And then, of course, and I don't know what your opinion is, did you, when you're playing role player adventures, did you guys use the pre-generated characters, or did you guys sit down and play role player and take your role player character into role player adventures? Because you can do that.
I was just going to mention that, that they had that ability to play a role player. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen as an option. Like the board game space. I think that's super, super clever. We did not end up doing that. We used pre-generated characters just to get a start on things. If I played it again, I think I probably would take the time and do a game of role player to generate the characters, at least to see if they would be like reasonable. Like you could get a really bad character theoretically if you played a bad game of role player. So there's that kind of aspect. But it's really fun that you can do that, I think. The mechanics for role player really created a solid foundation, I think, for all the stuff you do in role player adventures. Like very similar dice manipulation mechanics. Like in role player, you have armor and equipment that lets you do certain manipulation with dice. And they've carried all those mechanics in role player adventures and just use them in a new kind of context for a different kind of game. And I think, I don't know, for me, role player was like, I'm pretty sure the first Thunderworks game I ever played, and just fell in love with it. And I think from then I was like, I'm just going to pay attention to everything that these guys make, because I like this game so much. That's sort of memory of how I started with Thunderworks games anyways, is role player was the first. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know who owned the copy of it, because it wasn't my copy first. I remember I had to go buy it afterwards.
Yeah.
But the art was so good. The art is so good. Like an elf, like a dwarf looks like a dwarf, a lizard, whatever. The frogkin looks like frog people. Everything looks like, in my mind, like the fantasy art is exactly in my mind what the fantasy art should be for all of these and things. It's the birth of the world of the dawn, or the Ulus world, the role player setting, basically. And who knows where it's going to go next. I believe there are new titles that are going to be in the role player universe coming out from Thunderworks yet this year. I might have had an opportunity to play test a couple of those things. So we'll see where that goes. I can't say anymore. But I will say, these, just because the role player universe is a big part of Thunderworks, there are some great other titles from Thunderworks. One of my favorite titles that we didn't talk about today, that didn't quite make the list, was Flip Tunes, which just came out this past year at Gen Con, where you're trying to put on the bestest show as possible with all of these tuned characters that you're drafting and firing and doing this like interesting deck building mechanic that you really want to be able to build your deck in such a way that you're constantly playing all of your cards and that you're constantly incrementing that deck up every round of the game so that you're able to generate more fame so that you can eventually trip the fame threshold. And then, of course, when you trip the end of the game, you still have to deal it out. You have to have consistency in mind. So it's a really kind of like interesting little game that plays very fast, and that you can just, I probably played the thing 20 plus times. A number of the titles too that we talked about today are also featured on Board Game Arena. So if you want to go try them out there, go for it. Or they have apps of their own that you can go check out. So check them out. And yeah, Justin, is there anything else you want to say about Thunderworks?
Maybe just a big thank you to Keith and Thunderworks for making all these awesome games for us to play. You know, we wanted to give you guys your due and do a special episode kind of dedicated to Thunderworks just because for all the great gaming memories that we've had with your games over the years. Keep up the good work.
We're real fans, you know.
Yep.
All right. Well, that was our top 5 games from Thunderworks Games. You can head over to their website, or if you're not sure, you head over to whiskodice.com and you'll find links to all these games where you can get them. And I'm sure we'll have Amazon affiliate links. So if you want to help out the show, go right ahead and purchase them through our Amazon affiliate links. That money does help us out. We do appreciate it. Of course, we also talked about the games we are playing, which includes Trajan, that classic Stefan Feld, and our favorite little intruders, but we're kicking the door down and taking this station back in Nemesis Retaliation. Until next time, thanks so much for listening. Peace out.
Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you leave a review of this show wherever your favorite place is to find podcasts. Oh, and by the way, give us a like on our Facebook page. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Pinterest while you're at it. If you haven't looked recently, make sure you catch up on the blog at whiskodice.com. Hey, Brian, what's that site?
Oh, darn, I forget. Justin, what's our website again?
Whiskodice.com.
That's right, it's whiskodice.com. And until next time, everyone, peace out.